My name is Mary Frances Coryell. I serve as the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Citibot. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But we are going to have a little conversation here today, learn about some incredible innovation that is happening at Lancaster, California. The buzz around this conference has certainly been AI. I'm sure many of you are a little overwhelmed by all the different vendors and different opportunities and that are out there. But we're going to focus today not only on talking about AI and how it can help with your resident experience, but we're also going to focus really big on data governance. And when we think about data governance, if you're not paying attention to that, you're not ready for AI. Garbage in, garbage out. But on that note, I'm going to let Larissa introduce herself.
Good morning. Wow, I'm very loud. I probably don't need the microphone. But good morning, good afternoon. I'm Larissa De La Cruz. I am the Assistant City Manager with the City of Lancaster, California. And I have some fans, thank you. I think one, two, thank you, maybe even a third. Coming to ICMA is always a really wonderful experience for me because I get to meet all the other Lancaster people in the world. We occasionally get calls, to Lancaster, and I have to tell folks that's not us. We're in California. If you know where the City of Lancaster is, or you don't, that's okay. Lancaster, California is in Los Angeles County. We are the 5th largest city in Los Angeles County. We're the northernmost city in the county, so we're about an hour and a half away from LAX, to give you some perspective. So excited to be here, really excited about Citibot. We are a client, and we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Thanks, Larissa. So Citibot, we've been around for about 9 years, long before AI was something that was talked about in local government. So this is not a new company that just came on the block in this hype of AI. We are based in Charleston, South Carolina, and we are focused in a mission. Our co-founder and CEO, his father was the mayor of Charleston, South Carolina for 40 years. It was a strong form of mayoral government. He served from the late 70s until 2016, and he made it his personal duty to ensure that all residents had an equal voice. We continue today to drive that forward, but we do it through technology, in particular, multilingual AI-powered chat solutions. So we get up every day working with cities, counties, big ones, small ones, townships, villages, and individual agencies to support them to equally serve the lifelong 75-year-old resident to the 22-year-old Mandarin-speaking single mother that moves into your community. So on that note, we're going to continue here, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Lancaster. I'm sure some of you here in the room, again, come from a very large county or a very small village. At the end of the day, your challenges are often the same when it comes to resident customer service. So, Larissa, tell us a little bit about the beautiful place you live.
I should have mentioned I have a community development background, right? What makes me even gives me the credit to be here, but I have a community development background. I have a city planning background, if there's any planners in the room. Yes. Oh, there's one, two. Love it. But the City of Lancaster, California is an incredibly pro-growth, pro-development city. Our city council takes pride in their forward-thinking and innovative philosophy, and that's really why we had the opportunity to partner with Citibot, because it is the city council's philosophy to be on the up and up, be, the capital of AI. Lancaster is set to become that. And not just AI, but innovation in general. We are in the midst of creating an innovation and technology committee. We are growing in so many ways. This is our last state of the city this is our mayor, Mayor R. Rex Paris. He has become one of the leaders in sustainability and energy. We are becoming a hydrogen hub, a hydrogen capital. We are producing hydrogen. It is really on the forefront of sustainability and energy. And at our State of the City, we talked about AI and we talked about Citibot specifically. And I have to share a funny story. The day before the State of the City, we're getting ready, we're doing a rehearsal, and my mayor says, "Okay, so where's my robot?" And we all kind of look at each other like, did he say robot? And I've seen iRobot. I've seen that movie with Will Smith. That I'm not okay with robots. But I am okay with AI and technology and the future. And so we actually, that day, got a robot for him. And the robot showed up the following morning. And so that's the philosophy, that's the mindset that the City of Lancaster has. And what we're doing, we're establishing an innovation and technology committee that centers around all AI, data centers and recruitment of data centers into our community, because as you may know, AI requires a whole lot of energy. And because we're pro-growth and we're pro-development and we still have land and opportunity in the City of Lancaster, we are working heavily in recruiting data centers into our community. So if any of you are doing that currently, I'd love to chat. It's not a competition, it's a partnership, but it might be a little bit of a competition. So, yeah. What else you got?
How many of you have cities that are like Lancaster? Only a few hands in the room. So as we think about how are we moving into innovation, how are we moving into AI, what does that look like? Where is a safe space? And when we think about safe, as I mentioned to you before, it goes back to the data. So as you think about moving to the direction of utilizing a chatbot to support residents, you want to ensure that the information the bot has knowledge of, it has a fence around it. It is the information that you have said, this is what we want it to know. Not the World Wide Web, but the information of your city or your county. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a moment as, to where that information lives. And it obviously, in many cases, from a siloed perspective, lives in many different platforms. So we want to think about how are we bringing those things together. So from a challenge standpoint around resident experience, these websites are behemoths. There is a lot of content, and culturally, people today are lazy. We don't want to read, we don't want to click, we don't want to search. We just want that immediate gratification. We also see throughout the country that folks are short-staffed, they have a lot of turnover. And then lastly, we've all grown to love the Amazon experience. We've all got this 24/7, 365 expectation, and that's also on our preferred channel. And my preferred channel looks very different than my 80-year-old mother and very different than my 25-year-old nephew. So Larissa, as you guys started to go down this path related to a chatbot, tell us a little bit about resident experience, customer service. What did that culture look like at Lancaster before you brought on Andy?
I think we're kind of all experiencing the same things, right? People want answers and they want them fast and they want them now. You call, your city or your residents call your city and they don't want to talk to anybody. They want to press 0. They want to get to you now. And so we were having those same frustrations that, I'm calling the city and I'm not getting an answer. I called 10 minutes ago and, I still don't have what I need. And so, that's the nature of the beast. That's what we all deal with. And for us, integrating Citibot has been it's changed everything we do. And, there was a concern, and maybe we'll talk about this a little later, but I'll bring it up now. There was a concern about, job security. I think that comes up with your staff is, well, what does this mean for me? When we started to have the conversation about, we're now bringing in a bot, it's like, well, what's going to happen to me, to my job? And as we started to engage with Citibot and really start the work, we put together a team, who is now my technology team, to have a representative from each department, people that actually were interested in doing this. And it went from, oh my God, what's going to happen to my job, to now having purpose. This is so cool. This is now, I'm part of this innovative new thing. And, it took a lot of work. We had to go through our website. We had to clean up old information. It was a learning lesson for us, for the city, that, no wonder some of these residents are, frustrated. You can't find the information, right? We learned that we have an outdated website. We have a whole lot of content that hasn't been updated in probably a decade. As we have the trial, I was asking simple, basic questions of our bot of Ask Andy, and I was getting wrong information, right? And so it was a really significant learning lesson for the city, for city manager's office, that, okay, we had a problem. We didn't even realize we had a problem with old data and an old website, that, you know, having incorporated Citibot, we really learned that, and it's become a really just great thing. And now we're just all over, we want to do more, and we want to do it better.
And you can see here, Andy is on their website, but we're going to talk about some other channels in a moment. But before we move on to that, right now you can see Andy's taking in a service request. So these residents, they want to just simply be able to ask questions and get answers. And I'll tell you, across our 200 plus customers, that's about 85% of the interaction. Because again, they're lazy, so they want to just be able to ask a quick question, get a quick answer. Now, in addition to that, we want to work and utilize this technology to drive a unified experience for them. So the other thing that often they want to be able to do is to submit a service request. My mom's 80. If she called and told me that her, trash wasn't picked up and I said, download the app, she wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. But she can text. So in the case of where she lives, I would say, text the city at this phone number and report your missed trash pickup. So we want to think about weaving your platforms together. Oops, let's go back one. There we go. Weaving your platforms together, integrating your systems together so that now those residents can ask questions and get an answer, but they can also submit service requests or be directed where and how to submit a service request and or to submit a message. Because some folks, like myself, if I can only communicate with my city during business hours over the telephone, you're probably not going to hear from me. I do my personal business at night and on the weekends. So we mentioned in regards to multi-channel, and Lancaster, I'm going to let Larissa tell you a little bit about their call volume that I understand to be culturally very high.
Oh yeah, significantly high. I have to defer to Patty, who's oversees my building and safety department. What are the numbers?
We get thousands of calls every single day, and
It's thousands of calls. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, Patty, but it's in the thousands. Our call volume is just significant. I had an opportunity to be in Denver last year, was that this year, after we began the process with Ask Andy, and I learned that Citibot had also started incorporating a voice system. I think you're going to talk about that later, that will actually help with your call volume. And, you were in trial in Denver. I said, I know you're in trial. I don't care that you're in trial. We want that. And so we just, again, similar frustrations I'm sure that all of you have. The call volume is significantly high. Residents are frustrated. They don't want to call the planner or the engineer. They go straight to the mayor. They go straight to the uppers to complain. And so it was really significant for us to have another system that can help streamline all of those processes. And that's where we are today. We're in the process of building out now a voice bot to really help with that.
And when Larissa says now building out a voice bot, another thing I want you to think about is when we think about different channels, so your website, for example, versus someone calling on the phone, that's two different databases. Yeah. In some cases, those that are calling on the phone, all the information is inside your staff, inside your employees' heads. So again, you're not functioning out of a golden source of truth. So we build a bot, a singular back end, and then you pick and choose which channels you want to roll it out on. So as Larissa was talking earlier about that data governance piece, it is also very helpful to you internally in that cultural shift. There's one place where information is updated. Let's break down and think about these various channels and most importantly, that data piece that I keep mentioning and where that data is coming from. So when we think garbage in, garbage out. So first, we're thinking about, what is this bot facing? Is it facing your residents? Is it facing your staff? Ultimately, your staff, they are your residents. When you think about the folks that you're serving, it's everything from tourists to business owners to residents to your staff. Ultimately, that's all your audience. Now, from there, when we think about different channels, you can see here from the sake of AI voice, web-based chat, text chat, WhatsApp, Messenger, we maintain all of these as a la carte. 52% of Spanish-speaking Americans do all of their communicating on WhatsApp. We find that in diverse communities where folks speak different languages, that is very much a preferred channel. But we also work with communities that's not relative to their population. So therefore, based on your population, you pick and choose around these different channels. And then available in 75 languages. You do not have to have a translator on staff. You do not have to have your content translated into other languages. So now, not only can those residents ask questions and get answers in their native language, when it comes to service request, we can take in the service request in their native language, and then we translate that back into English before we put it in your back end. So in the case of Lancaster, they have an integration with a Tyler 311 system. So again, now those residents can engage through the bot and also submit service requests in their native language. Now, when we come over here to this knowledge area, we keep talking about your website. Now, from the sake of sourcing the information on the website, that's going to be sourced through a crawler. And we're not going to get super technical here today, but when we think about what is informing the crawler of what to know, that's going to be your HTML sitemap. Now, for those of you that are a little more tech and, paying attention to your CMS, when you start to step back and think about what else is on your website, but not hosted in your website, that could be your code information. That could be your directory. That could be your agenda management system. So we go back to saying we want to create that unified experience for the resident. So therefore, it's important that that information is ingested as well. So we source that information through API integrations. And now someone can say, hey, did the XYZ part get approved on the council meeting last week? How do I sign my kid up for soccer? And when am I going to receive my tax bill? Now, we talked here again about further integrations. We are agnostic. We do not care. Typically, we're integrating from a service request or a message perspective into a CRM or a service request management system. So Larissa, do you want to talk a little bit about why that integration piece was so important to you guys?
Oh, it was super important because of the various systems that we had in place. What's been really beneficial to us is the incorporation of Tyler and really the service request. You mentioned that earlier. That has made such a night and day difference. The ability to simply go in here, report something, we get it instantly. It's clean. It's integrated into our other systems that do the reporting. The responsiveness is quicker. It's been really just... It's been great to have it all integrate together. I also wanted to just share quickly on the language component of it. I assumed, we're in Los Angeles County. The only language we really need is Spanish. We learned that our customers using Citibot were coming in Portuguese, in Turkish, French, and when I got that data, it blew my mind. Never did I think that was some of the prominent languages that we needed translation services for. So I think that has been my personal favorite, to learn the various languages that were actually spoken in the community, because I would have never bet that those were languages spoken in our community. So.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Larissa, as well. There is an anonymity about a bot, that people will tell it things, ask it things that they won't tell a human. We see this across many places, maybe related to their homeless population, maybe related to their immigrant population. These folks don't want to relive their story, but they can ask a bot and they feel okay about that. Now, let's look at Andy in the first 90 days. And I want to make note here that right now, Andy is only live on one channel on web-based chat. So imagine as they roll Andy out on additional channels, major call volume, so they're going to have Andy on voice, and then in the future, some of those other channels that we spoke about. But you can see Andy recently launched, this is just the first 90 days. Andy has already engaged with over 1,400 residents. If we look at just an average adoption trajectory without any real marketing, this is a pretty average line. Now imagine with marketing, and they have all kinds of things going on with Andy. Andy also has a little sidekick named Poppy. So Lancaster is doing some great things around driving this brand and helping those residents to get connected to the brand. So if we think about those 1,400 residents, if they call, an average call to a city costs anywhere from $3.50 to $5. That is national average data. So if we look at just $4 a call, you can see that Andy is projected to save them almost $40,000 next year, over $40,000 in 2027, and almost $60,000 in 2028. And again, that's looking at only one channel. So their call volume, once they roll Andy out on voice, is going to ultimately just continue to double, triple, quadruple these numbers. So when you're thinking about making an investment in this kind of technology, that's what it is. It's an investment to ultimately drive major efficiency and major cost savings. Larissa, did you want to speak any more to that about those first 90 days?
No, not at all. I know that for the month of October alone, we had 400 users. I just got that data yesterday. And so it's been really just beneficial to us. I also wanted to share, Andy isn't a person. Andy is named after the Antelope Valley. Antelopes don't roam there now, but at one point they did, and so it's the Antelope Valley. So the little character that you see is a little antelope, so it's Ask Andy the Antelope. So that was fun too.
How many of you think your website is ready? Wow.
I scared them a little.
Let's talk about that. We've just recently rolled out.
Sean, I guarantee you.
We've recently rolled out a new product to help you with that. We've all been talking here today about these websites are behemoths, they're antiquated, they've got broken links, they've got embedded PDFs. So this new product, Citibot Refresh, is focused in helping you to get that data fresh, clean, up to date. And then we all know this is not a set it and forget it. This is an ongoing thing. So this product is focused in ensuring that all of your information is correct, consistent, free of duplication. Nobody has the same information in multiple places on their website, right? Not the case. So we've got that down this pathway of accuracy. Now, also thinking about information that nobody has touched, nobody has updated, nobody has changed. And that also includes your PDFs. So when we think about sometimes those PDFs, they've been sitting on that website for over 10 years and no one's looked at them. No one's updated them. Now, we also see across many, many communities where the tone, the voice is not the same voice across the website. Because let's be honest, if your Parks and Recs folks are changing their information versus your, permitting office, these are all different people working on your website, so it does not have that consistent persona or that consistent voice. And then lastly, big topic that everyone is talking about these days in regards to the accessibility requirements. So helping you to quickly and easily identify where is there, gaps in that information. So a report that's going to help you to see, where do you need to spend your time? Does your time need to be spent on cleaning up information? Does your time need to be spent on getting those requirements updated? And for those of you that may not know, we have the ones coming in 2026, but there's more coming in 2027. And that is probably going to just continue. So we've got this tool now that can be very helpful in getting you AI ready and keeping you ready. Because as we started the conversation today, garbage in, garbage out. And Larissa, you talked a little bit earlier about kind of how you all work to get your information up to date. Was that a daunting? I know it was overwhelming at first, but once you guys got in, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't bad. It's just, time and energy and resources. And we're also in the process of getting a brand new website. So timing couldn't have been any better. But it was a little shocking to see just how bad it was. So, but it was fine.
And one thing that I'll note there too, you want to think about the 80-20 rule. And I don't mean get in there and scrub 80% of your website. Think about per department, what is the information that drives 80% of the transaction? That's often their top 5 FAQs. Just getting started there, and then as Larissa was saying, get the bot out there and see what they are asking about. You'll be able to learn what do they want to know, when do they want to know it, and how are they asking about it. Because internally, we all talk in acronyms and local government jargon. That's certainly not how they talk. And that's another thing to think about in regards to your content. Maybe you internally refer to something with an acronym, but it might not be that way on your website. The bot, it's not magic. It doesn't have any way of knowing that, when you say ABC is referring to a particular park, unless it has been framed that way. Thank you all for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Safe travels home.